New Jersey high school students may soon be able to sleep in a little bit later.
Yeah, according to the New Jersey chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, 85% of schools in the state start before 8:30 in the morning. But new legislation would make sure that 8:30 is the earliest any high school could actually start.
Well, Heather Turgeon is the author of the book Generation Sleepless. It focuses on how teens are the most sleep-deprived population in history. And she joins us now to talk about this possible sleep schedule shift. Heather, nice to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is obviously a trend across the country. More schools are starting a little bit later. So what is the major reason we're seeing high schools in particular want to really push those start times?
It's great. It's such good news. In California, we are starting this year in the fall. Will be the first the first academic year that high schoolers will required all across the state to start at 8:30. And it's because we know that the teenage brain clock shifts later in adolescence. Legitimately, teenagers are not ready to fall asleep as early as we are, and they're not ready to wake up as early as we do. And the morning hours are just vital to their mental health. So starting at 8:30 or later has been shown by a lot of research to ensure that the majority of teenagers can get adequate sleep.
You touched on it briefly about sleep. I actually remember being a high schooler in California and having to start school at 7 a.m. So
Right.
What is the impact of teens not getting enough sleep?
Well, I think that the most salient and the most important for teens and for parents to know is that it really affects our mental health. So teen mental health right now is suffering. Teenage, depression and anxiety has been going up for many years as sleep has been shrinking over the years. And that is not a coincidence because sleep loss raises stress levels. It causes the brain's emotional pathways to really not be as strong. And so the emotional brain can become very overwhelmed, whereas the soothing parts of the brain are not as much online. So as sleep time goes down, anxiety and depression go up.
Well, so let's talk about this. How will a later school start time affect the rest of their day? Because I think that's also a big part of it is what it immediately affects each day.
Yeah, it is. It's I think it's one of those things where initially it seems like a logistical puzzle that a lot of parents and, athletic coaches and, grown-ups basically are trying to figure out, like, how do we fit everything in across the country where schools and districts have done this. And there's many examples. There's so many examples of where this has been done. There's initially some stress over the logistics and, how will we fit in lacrosse practice and it all works out. It just all works out. It has been fine. People have figured out ways to make, practice times get more efficient when teenagers are well rested. So a well rested athlete is going to make more use of their practice time. So across the board, it ends up being better for everybody.
So Heather, what is the average number of hours a teen should typically be getting each night?
8 hours is what we would consider adequate sleep, but 9 to 10 hours is actually optimal sleep. And that's a surprise for a lot of people because we tend to think of teenagers as needing less sleep than younger children. They don't necessarily because their brains are growing so much and they're going through such a massive amount of remodeling in the brain and transformation. They actually need more sleep than we think. So 9 to 10 is ideal, but at 8 is adequate.
So how can parents help teens get to sleep at least at a reasonable time? Because there are a whole lot of distractions out there, that's for sure, on top of, homework on top of that.
It's so true. So school start times are one factor in what we, in the book in Generation Sleepless, what we describe as a perfect storm of factors. And you're alluding to exactly that, is that we have to move start times to a healthy and sleep-friendly place, which is 8:30 or later. But we also have to look at how their academic overload is causing them to, the average high schooler can have easily 3 hours of homework. And there is absolutely no need for that because research really shows us that over 1 hour of homework per night is not academically beneficial to them. They don't learn more, they don't benefit from it. It's just more time that's taken out of their day. So looking at academic overload, technology, of course, is a huge sleep stealer for teenagers. We really have to look at this perfect storm and figure out how we can put practical habits into place that really help in a systemic way.
All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight. Her book, Generation Sleepless, is on sale right now. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Such good